Hey, it's Ricky Metallico of the best show ever, 97.5 The Fanatic, 97.5thefanatic.com, NBC Sports. You can catch us Monday through Friday with Silvana Kelleher and Tyrone Johnson on the best show ever, 2 to 6, Monday through Friday, so catch us there. This is Ricky's Mailbox. Hey, we're taking Phillies questions. I'm going to try to answer these things to the best of my ability and keep bringing the questions. Go ahead, type them in the box down below. We'll see if we can't get the answers to you. I'm here with Dylan McKinnon. Dylan's going to ask me the questions. Here we go, Dill.
This one's actually from a regular caller. Tom from Alabama wants to know, knowing Harper would move to the outfield, would you have pursued Pete Alonso?
I most certainly would have. When you think about Pete Alonso, I think a lot of people will say, well, he's a Met. We don't want him in the Phillies organization. That's so false. It's unbelievable. If the guy's going to put up 30 to 40 home runs a year, I want you to picture that at number 4 in the Phillies lineup. Picture that at number 4 in the Phillies lineup. Yeah, he's only going to hit 230, 240, but this guy has been known for some power. You surround him with guys like Harper and Schwarber, and that's going to make Bohm a better hitter. It's going to make everybody in your lineup a little bit better hitter. So if I knew that during the time period when that free agency was going around and I knew we could afford a guy like Pete Alonso, I think I would not have been afraid to dabble in that. I think he would have been a good guy to have over first base and a power hitter, period.
This is from Philly Fanatic, not the big green guy,
Not
but
the big
Fanatic
green
spelled
guy.
like the radio station.
All right.
Do you think the plate approach of their biggest bats will change for the better, stay the same, or change for the worse?
Oh man, I can't really say for the worst because we've seen what happens in a playoff series when they go south. Can you really change the stripes of a veteran player is what it really comes down to. And right now, I think the main guy is Trey Turner that we're really talking about here. The second guy would be Nick Castellanos. But you look back to last year, Castellanos was fine in the playoffs. Turner was not. And they're trying to put Turner in a leadoff spot. What does that do? Well, it makes him take more pitches. What does that do? Makes him be a little bit more selective at the plate. Can that force him into being a different type of hitter? Yes. Is he going to be comfortable with that type of approach? Probably not. Um, it just seems as though when they get into these grooves, it's always like on pitchers' pitches. 1-2 pitch, a 0-1 pitch, 0-2 pitches. The pitchers are trying to use deception, trying to throw a pitch. It looks like it's on the plate, ends up, a foot off the plate. And when that's going on, your mindset is going so fast that you don't have time to slow things down. Next thing you know, you're swinging at pitches out of the strike zone. Can that change? I think guys have their ways. You look into Castellanos. Has he really changed? I think at times he becomes disciplined. Other times he's an attacker of the baseball. And what they'll do is they'll look back at why did I get here? How did I get to the big leagues? And usually the answer is attacking the baseball. So they'll go back to their regular stripes at some point during the season. I think if you're a Phillies fan, you just got to hope that doesn't happen during a time period where the games mean more than they would have.
This one's Johnny McCluskey, and it's a two-part question. What does the Phillies lineup look like on opening day? And also, do you think the Phillies did enough to bolster the bullpen?
All right, let's start with the lineup. I think it's going to look a little bit like this. I think it's going to be Turner, Harper, Castellanos. Then I believe it's going to be Schwarber, Bohm, and then the rest of the cast. I really believe those first 4 or 5 guys are the guys that you got to get in order. Those are the guys that you need to have in place at the beginning of the season. I think that would be a pretty good 1 through 5. After that, I think it depends on who the starting pitcher is. I think it depends if you're on left-handed, right-handed. So I think those things will all work itself out. And I think this all has to do with if Trey can get into some kind of comfort zone in spring training, which we're now 2 weeks away from the regular season. I don't think he's done that yet. So, it could be back to the same old, same old. I mean, we may be seeing Schwarber, but I think they're looking to get away from that. They're looking to get into the Trey Turner as your leadoff hitter and see if they can't run from there just to switch things up, make the team look a little bit different, get a different angle for other teams to see. As far as the bullpen, I really do think they've done enough. I know a lot's going to rely on when Strom, his arm is healthy and how he's throwing the baseball, but a lot of people say, what about that closer and setup role? I think you're pretty set in a sense where you're sitting back and you still have uh, Romano, number one, who looks to be healthy, and that was the main concern with him. He was a good closer while he was up in Toronto. You look at a setup guy in Alvarado. But what are you really worried about in that sense? He came into spring training in the best shape of his life, so that's a big check mark for him. And then Orion Kirkland, who I think is going to end up in that closer's role at some point. One way or the other, he's going to end up being a closer at the big league level, whether that be right now, next year, or the year after. He's going to get himself to that point. And I just think you have plenty of arms out there to get the job done in the bullpen. Don't forget, all these starting pitchers are not going to end up as starting pitchers. Phillies have 7 or 8 starting pitchers right now. I don't think that'll last. I think some of them will be chopped up, put into the bullpen.
Okay, this next one's from Teddy Hims, and it's a negative one. Why do the Phillies think we're dumb enough to believe they can compete with the worst outfield in baseball?
I don't think Nick Castellanos is one of the worst outfielders in baseball. I think he's a pretty good player. I think he's been around long enough where his bat will speak for itself. Center field, you're right. I think the Phillies are extremely confused out in center field, whether it be Marsh, Rojas, a combination of both, or whoever. And then in my opinion, I think Max Kepler is going to take over the left field spot. Yes, Kepler's coming off of a down year. Can he turn that around? If he does, that then turns the whole outfield around, doesn't it? In that sense, but I don't know. I'm not going to completely disagree with you. I'm just going to go on the hopes that Max Kepler kind of turns his year around from last year and gets back to the 20 home run guy that we could expect him to be. He's fine in the outfield. He gets the job done out there and left. And if center field's a platoon, then so be it. I mean, you have 2 pretty good defensive outfielders out there. I think Marsh hits righties fairly well, but he hasn't shown anything against lefties. So you're still going to have Rojas most likely going up against left-handed pitchers.
Okay, this next one's the weekly Silvana question. If you could live a day in any Phillies body, who are you picking?
In any Phillies body? Any Phillies body. If I could live a day. Probably Trey Turner. Just to get an idea of what he went through with that ovation and everything like that, how that felt in his eyes.
Can't wear hats.
Yeah, see, maybe that wouldn't be me. And then I would unload his bank account, and then I'd be pretty happy. So I think that's fairly simple. Thank you, Silvana, by the way. One of our cherished listeners and watchers, by the way.
Okay, it's the last one from Broad Street Baseball. Basically a continuation from the question Tom from Bama asked. Do you think the Phillies can pick up a big infield bat, in parentheses, Vlad?
Here's a good way to put this. If Bryce Harper is still into this, I'll move out to the outfield type thing, I think you definitely can do this. I mean, Vlad's going to be looking for a lot of money. Let me put it this way. But coming off the books next year, most likely JT, most likely Schwarber. You start knocking guys off of there. Are you going to pay Ranger Suarez? Or is he going to come off the books? You start knocking the guys off one by one, then you start to say to yourself, well, we have some money. Now we have some flexibility. Where do we want to go with flexibility? If Bryce Harper is still up for moving to the outfield, I would not be shocked even a little bit if they go after Vladdy. I think Vladdy's one of those guys who's got tremendous power. He brings kind of a love of the game back to the ballpark. Some new blood into the Phillies organization. I think you'd be a fantastic fit in here, especially But, I mean, let's face it. It all falls on that first baseman, everybody's MVP, Bryce Harper. And if they could get him to agree to move back out to the outfield, I think that would be a no-brainer. All right, there you have it. Ricky's mailbag for this week. Like I said, you could join us 2 to 6, Monday through Friday, on the best show ever on 97.5 The Fanatic, 97.5thefanatic.com, and NBC Sports Philadelphia. We will see you there.